Clement. Hey, Clement, are you ready?
Number of months now, right?
Or
Since March, since we took the hiatus.
you haven't, you were on mute, Clement, so you have to
Okay.
start.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. I'll start over. Well, basically, just hi everyone. Good to see everybody. More formally welcome everyone back to our reconvened Workforce Development Council. How long have we been on hiatus now? Since March or April?
It's February. February was our last meeting.
February? My goodness.
February was last meeting.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah. So it's good to be back together again. Good to see everyone. And then I see we've got a couple attendees as well. So welcome our attendees that are watching. So I've got a welcome message slash sunshine law informational comment or welcome that I want to read, just cover our basis. It's the first slide that we see up here. Please note that in conjunction with Ohio State's revised sunshine laws and the rule limiting the number of people who may face, CPS has decided to convene the meeting via video conference in accordance with Ohio Public Records and Open Meeting Laws. CPS has advertised the meeting on its website in advance and has provided a link for members of the public to listen and view the meeting. This meeting will be video recorded, and a copy of the meeting minutes, including any documentation, will be made available via the CPS website as soon as practically possible after the meeting. And so if I understand how our Q&A is going to work, because our attendees who are watching are unable to verbally comment. So if you've got any questions, you can use the chat function. And as soon as Laura, our moderator, sees that, she'll chime in and read your question or comment to the group. So you can still participate that way. It's pretty nifty, this whole technology able to allow us to do that. So I guess with that, we'll proceed on to the next item of our agenda. And we've got an overview of the charter since we've been away for so long, and then also it's going to help inform our discussion, particularly when we get into CPP updates as far as ideas and things that we might be able to do going forward. So Laura, I'll turn it over to you to run through our charter.
Thank you, Clement. So I took all the areas that we had of the charter, and I copied and pasted them into here, and I'm only going to do the highlights. So one of the things that we are needing to do is to monitor teacher salaries, and we're requesting that the sites and the teacher salaries, that information is through CPP, and they'll talk about that later, and they're going to do that, give us that information quarterly. We are supposed to monitor progress of quality improvement to tuition access to CPP, but that is something that we are given monthly, sometimes even weekly by CPP, and I will submit with the minutes that monthly information. So everything else is if we suspect that there's issues that we need to report them, basically. So our reporting is bi-monthly. We report to either the finance, the policy, student achievement, and the Cincinnati Preschool Promise Board of Managers whenever we're fact, basically ask to be there or to relate our information. A report to the Cincinnati Public Board of Education is usually given and by Shara. She gives a CPP for portion, and they get our minutes. And non-compliance with the master agreement, if we need to report that. Special standards of development, we took a lot of that out because the state does that. So basically, this is the new part that we're coordinating with Cincinnati Public Schools, staff and departments, and Cincinnati Preschool Promise to make relevant professional development that we can fuse both. And we're actually trying to get that together right now. Career pathways, again, a lot of this is done statewide. So what we need to do and something that we need to talk about in the future, especially, is this mentorship program. Because right before we left, they CPP had asked about that, and I have all that information that we need to put that on our agenda to talk more about starting this mentorship program, which I think right now would be, in my opinion, kind of hard, but might be good. So that needs to go onto our agenda. So we need to talk about the mentorship program and how it's going to proceed. That support the development of the teacher pipeline in Cincinnati School District, which is what I'm doing with the CDA program. And identify and pursue funding sources, which is something I think is hard to do, but I've been looking in my other time for that as well. So does anybody have any questions about the charter?
Hey, Laura, has any of the board members, CPS board members, or any of the committees made any comments or feedback with respect to our charter that you can think of?
I have not heard anything since the COVID started, so I haven't heard anything, and I think a lot of the so we at this time, I think that their focus right now is just getting this back to live instruction.
Laura, if I may suggest,
Sure.
possibly we could go back to, I believe last year we were mainly reporting to finance, correct?
Yeah, finance and SAC.
And SAC. So maybe what we could do is maybe begin with that committee and request for them to review your charter again and the recommendations that we can move forward.
Okay.
That's just a suggestion, whatever the committee decides.
So,
It could be like our monthly report out for next month when they meet. Yes.
I agree. I think that would be a great idea to make sure that we make sure that they have our minutes and they have our transcript of this.
And then this is Bob. They will affirm then the charter that's here now. Is that the plan? I think that's a good plan, but is that the idea?
They've already affirmed this charter. They did this charter last year. They approved it.
Right. Oh, this one is here now. Right. Okay. I thought it looked the same as what we finally wound up with. Okay. That's good.
So they approved it already. I can push back to the two if they need anything else for us to add, or do they need it amended in any way?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so are we ready to move on to the budget? Was there anything more on the charter that we needed to?
That's all of the areas. The first part of the charter is all definitions, and this is, I took everything straight from the charter.
Okay. Okay. All right. So moving on to budget. Laura, what do we have for the budget? Yeah.
So we have a little over $66,000 to provide opportunities for community-based providers for PD. We have
I have a
$5,000.
question first. Since
Sure.
where did we finally wind up 2019, 2020? Because we haven't met since February, and we had a budget for that year. I just was wondering, to wrap that up, where did we finally end up the year? We should have something on that, or that should. Go ahead.
I will make sure that we have that. This was hard to get. So I just had this year's budget, but I will look back at last year's budget, and because the only thing we had spent was the money that we sent to CFT that is still out there somewhere. So this is what we have for PD, office materials and services. So whenever we need extended time for, if there's a need that we go back and we need extended time for something, but copies are always a big cost. And then the bottom ones are the stipend for this, and if any extended time is needed. Questions? Okay. Could be a short meeting. Go ahead.
Hey, Laura,
This is Bob again.
go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead. I'm just wondering how this was developed, and I don't have a problem with it. Just who developed this draft, or who did, or how did it get developed, or what?
This is the budget that I was given last year, and then this was also the budget that I was given for this year.
Okay. I mean, I'm looking back at February's meeting, and there was something here on the 2021 budget, but I don't know, it doesn't quite match up, but it's close, but it doesn't quite match up to what we had last February.
So, what I was given.
Can you say
Who provided it to you, Laura? Because I haven't seen it.
It came from your office.
So
That's when I asked for the budget. This is what I got.
Okay, so I think, and I'm not disputing anything. I just think maybe we need, because some of the copies, we need to maybe align where we ended in February, because you all were in discussion.
Right.
And then maybe firm it up with what you all wish moving forward.
Right. Right. This is the way it was presented to me. We can move.
I mean, this is fine if this is what you all wish to go with. I'm just saying we ended so abruptly.
Right.
And in February there was discussion, and then we didn't get to meet again to really finish out the fiscal year. So what I'm suggesting is, with what you all have in your minutes from February to here, maybe we can send something out. Laura, you and I can sit down with the accountant or whatever and figure out what was spent out, what's left, and really get some finite numbers for you.
Right. That would be awesome.
I know this might change, but just in terms of how to understand at least what I see here with the 100 hours estimated, 3690 with the fringes. is that 100 hours going to be multiplied by a hourly rate, or what's that
That is
amount?
that 3690 is the 100 hours, and it is just a placeholder.
Okay. Okay. So does it sound like then, I guess then, Laura and Vera, you guys will get together and you sort of take a look at this, square it up with what we had back in February, and then we'll look at some different numbers. November month?
Right. And I will have the 1920 budget to show you,
Okay.
because that's where I think.
So are you all meeting in November?
Yes, we're going to meet every third Tuesday.
Okay, so November is going to be, I was just thinking the holiday.
Yeah, nope.
So would you all
So-
wish to have information prior to that to view, or I'm just asking, or would you like it just to be discussed and decided on in the November meeting?
I mean, if you can circulate it ahead of the meeting, that'd be
Right.
great.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, this is Bob. I agree too. I think what we need is, okay, where did we finally wind up 2019-20, that final reconciliation, and then a reconciliation for where we were presented in February for a budget for this fiscal year, which is similar but different than what we're seeing now, how we got to where we are now. And I'm okay, but we need to have some sort of reconciliation here so we understand, since we weren't
Yes.
meeting for so long.
Yes.
Right. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Like a plan.
Our next is the CPP update.
So,
Hi, everyone. I apologize. I'm we're a little scattered today. We had an outage so that we weren't receiving any emails from midnight last night till about 20 minutes ago, and our website's been down. So we've been troubleshooting that all day. So I apologize if anyone reached out to us to get information, but we're up and running again. So up and running. So I know that many of you have heard kind of our year 3 results that innovation did for us, and this is kind of a snapshot of the full deep dive of the 28-page evaluation. And I really tried to address the things that Laura presented previously that are components of the charter. So our year 3 results were that the Teacher Promise Grant supported 57 teachers at 29 sites. As you know, it is the completion in July of the first year of what is a 2-year pilot for Teacher Promise Grants. 80% of those TPT teachers that receive Teacher Promise Grants are still at the same community provider site that they've been working at. And in terms of providers that are reaching high quality, we had 29 providers last year that reached high quality, and of those, 24 of those providers converted to tuition assistance. Some of those conversions may be delayed because paperwork completion. Others of them may be delayed because they don't currently have students that are eligible for CPP tuition assistance. And so they weren't going to displace their families to join the TA side. As those families matriculate out and they recruit new preschoolers, those will most likely be TA eligible, in which their enrollment will be completed. We've also begun the year 4 work plan, and we presented to our executive committee last week our initial goals and work plan, and are going through the process to get input from all stakeholders like this group and others before the final presentation to the Board of Managers in November. I'll highlight that on the next slide, but on this one, we are doing now quarterly data collection of teacher salaries at TA sites and QI sites. Beginning in September we did, and we've gotten responses from 104 of our 195 active providers. So we're compiling that data based on what we received, and we hope to be able to share this with you at least quarterly for TA sites. We've also worked on the scope of work of our year 4 evaluation to make sure that we have a complete analysis and literature review that tells us all of the people that are in the CPP footprint, wages, what's going on with retention, recruitment, and recommendations. We are very good at reporting outputs that talk about the number of teachers and sites, but not so good at reporting the impact. And we knew that was going to be a long-term study to say, how did the Teacher Promise Grants dollars help? We've also laid out a professional development session.
Tell me when to forward the PowerPoint.
Okay, almost, Laura. We've gone and made our 70 professional development sessions as our goal for this year. We've been implementing them throughout based on feedback that we got from providers. And so we've probably had at least 7 already PD sessions just going into Q1. We also launched our staff support fund, which is a little bit different than the Teacher Promise Grant. Staff Support Fund is for 0, 1, and 2-star rated providers. It's $3,000 per lead teacher for the site to apply for recruitment, salary enhancements, benefits, anything that they may need to enhance teacher recruitment and retention at that site, not only for the lead teachers, but for others. As we implemented the next cohort of the Teacher Promise Grant, we have 11 additional teachers who have signed up, and we have customized it this year. We have the CPP budget this year has doubled the amount that is available to each teacher up to $4,000 and doubled the amount that we can accept into the program. We are very fortunate to have Kenitra Mathis with us, who is our new manager of programs and evaluation. And she has made a call or a touch out to every single Teacher Promise Grant applicant so that we can customize and right size it for them based on the feedback that we got. So many said that the amount was a challenge for them because it had tax implications and cliff effect implications. So we have gone in to say some people wanted 4,000, some people wanted 3, some people wanted 2, to really make sure that it is beneficial and equitable. We customize those amounts that are open to each teacher. So I'll take a breath and then flip to the next slide. I think I'm ready, Laura. So this is what the template looks like exactly from our fiscal year 21 year 4 goals that are again still being circulated to all stakeholders for final approval. And of course, improving availability of high quality preschools and accessibility and affordability of preschools. And these are the targets that we've set in terms of new enrollments. We still haven't set yet on our number of students that we're going to enroll. We're aligning that with Vera and her team and in the early childhood education department to make sure we're getting at the most kids we have. We know from the most recent ACS data that the predictions we had for a number of preschoolers in the system is a little bit off, but we also want to make sure that we're not just moving kids from community providers to CPS and back and forth. And we set a goal that really has us bringing in and reaching as many preschoolers as possible. Our conversion rate for QI to TA is set at 75, given the challenges that we know we're having. And we're really excited about the 1B target, and that really is to work, hopefully with the Workforce Development Committee and others, to say, how do we find, as Preschool Promise, what we can do to contribute to building that pipeline of early childhood education workforce individuals and those that are interested in choosing this as their career. Do I have another slide? Nope, that was it. Those were our 2 slides. So I'm up for questions, concerns, input.
I just want to say, this is Vera. I just want to tell the committee it has been a joy working with Shar to develop these goals and the collaboration, working together. We're very thrilled that both our boards approved a shared vision as we continue to move forward, and that we're really starting to serve a wider population, even under very difficult circumstances of all the guidelines that are around COVID right now. So I just want to do a shout out and say thank you to Shara for her partnership and always taking my text messages and calls and emails. So you're very much appreciated.
Thank you. And I say we're equally appreciative of the partnership as well. You know, when we're in a position to be doing this for at least another 5 years, it'll be like a well-oiled machine.
Any other questions?
Okay, you guys are making it easy. All right.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, this is going to be a short meeting because at the end we're at additional concerns. I've heard about, I'm going to get we'll have for the next meeting, I'll have the old budget and the new budget and information to you about where it's moved and what has happened.
Hey, so Laura and Shara and really and Kathleen and Kim as well. I mean, anybody and can answer this. But since I'm not in the early childhood space, I'm sort of curious as to how COVID has been impacting your all's work, particularly on the workforce side. I know we just kind of went through summer, so it's not quite like things kind of were in flux for quite a bit. But I'm just trying to get ideas for maybe things that we could do, if there's anything that for us, as far as role to play to help sort of address any sort of needs or concerns. So I'm curious as to how COVID's been impacting your work, over the last few months and sort of right now.
Well, that's an interesting question, because as you know, we had a teacher shortage prior to COVID, and so during this time, just to because I don't know what all you know, but programs shut down in March. They were closed in order to remain open. They had to get a temporary pandemic childcare license, and they were only able to serve essential workers. And then that lasted until May 30th. And then on May 31st, programs were allowed to open, but with reduced group size and ratios. And then that, I can't remember exactly when, but a month or so, a few weeks after that, they were allowed to increase their ratios, or they could remain at the lower ratios and receive some support from the state. So it's been a roller coaster ride, but as far as the workforce, so Kathleen and Holly and a group, 4C gathered a group of 3 of the major childcare programs that employ, childcare workers here locally. And there was, between just the 3, that was Cincinnati Head Start, it was CAA, Head Start, YMCA, and Learning Grove. Just between those 3, there was 160, yes, 160 openings, job openings, where they needed to fill and they couldn't fill it. So families are going on waiting lists because they have the space to open up programs, but they don't have the teachers to fill those spaces to open up the programs. So with just those 3 and 160, you can imagine, what it's like everywhere else. So in response, 4C has created a job board. That was one thing that group had talked about. We had talked about at the college, and Kathleen and Holly could talk about what they're doing, how they're trying to get the word out. But 4C created a job board, and within 1 week, we had 200 job postings on our job board. So there is a great deficit. There's a great need for childcare and teachers, infant, toddler, preschool, school age, the whole, every age group. So that's where we are. It's it's a tough place for the community-based providers to be right now.
There's also some.
I just wanted, there was a question for Kim. So Kim, there was a question of what are the private center ratios?
So ratios for our pre-pandemic ratios, or what they could go back to, the ODJFS licensing ratios for preschool is 1 to 12. So 1 teacher to 12 3-year-olds, or 1 to 14. So 1 teacher to 14 4-year-olds and then you double that for a group size. When they first opened on May 31st, they were at a 1 to 9, and that was a group size. That was they could not have more than 9 in their group with 1 teacher. So going from where they could have 28 with 2 teachers to 1 teacher with 9, that was, it's been tough. But they can go back up to the Ohio ratios now if they choose to. But that's difficult too, because now you're bringing more children in and more families, and yeah, crazy times.
So I don't know if Laura was going to jump in on this part, but in addition to that, there is going to be a marketing campaign of sorts that, again, 4C has led the way on and has put together just a very simple message about just the elevating our field. This is a great career to choose. This is a great way to help during this time of a pandemic. And so I've taken some of those talking points and have shared them with our students at the University of Cincinnati. And I have actually reached out to individual faculty members instead of sending an email blast out to all of the students, no matter what. They don't have to be in early childhood. We sent it out to everyone in our college, and I felt that it would be a better message if the faculty member was invested in this crisis issue and not just forwarding an email. So that's about where we're at. I've heard from a few faculty members with a thank you. I also put my 2 cents in there saying, during this time when students cannot get into observed classrooms and cannot get real hands-on experience with children, even if they were able to work 10 hours a week at a child care center to fill this need, that is something that they will be able to say when someone interviews them someday. What did you do to help during this pandemic? That's something they could point to, and that also strengthens their experience working with young children and seeing how centers work. So I know Vanessa Freitag was interviewed by a news channel in Cincinnati. So Kim, I don't know if you have an update on where that's at, but I know that's still coming. So it's a work in progress right now.
We got bumped due to the election. So we're scheduled to be on again soon. But yeah, she got bumped because of I think had something to do with the presidential debate fiasco that was going on.
And I think from the CPP perspective, it is that we are relying very heavily on 4C in that group. Because we're trying to triage kind of day by day providers who are saying, as Kim said, they can't scale up to capacity with community providers because they don't have teachers. And we do have some community providers that really are at risk now of being able to keep their doors open for preschoolers because they don't have those teachers. And so it's actively trying to say, not only how do you have access to it through the job boards and other things, but what can we do as the Preschool Promise to have resources so that whatever decision you choose, where you're able to do that, and there is not an economic or financial barrier, you doing what you need to do to attract those teachers or at least to find them.
I was just going to add that one of the interesting pieces of data we heard at an Ohio meeting, Ohio College, Ohio Confederate Teacher Education Colleges, I can't remember what all the initials stand for, was that there's an estimate that the freshman class, when you look at 4-year programs, the freshman class of students going into teacher preparation is down approximately, this is anecdotal right now, 50%. And when you think about the fact that we already have a teacher shortage overall, and you think about Ohio's already, teacher preparation programs are already under enrolled for all the needs that are coming up, that has, to hear the freshman class could be that low. Now we're waiting on some actual data to verify that and see where people are, because I know at the Mount we're not there, but this is statewide. So just something that, if we think about the larger context of education, we know that when education is having a shortage, the effects are felt even worse for young children. And that's a really hard place to be. And Clement, I think the other thing that comes to mind is that our teachers who are in the field are reporting that there's a lot of students that just didn't get the kind of preparation or the kind of experiences they needed to be ready. So we're seeing children in preschool, this is more a state program, public and non-public preschool programs that are attached to schools. But we're seeing that those grades through first and second grade are seeing some holes in the learning. So these are some areas that I just think as a field we're going to have to keep our eye on and keep advocating and hopefully bring more and more people to the field and try to support all these young kids.
Yeah, I guess, just wanted to, leave you, or at least just, if you guys think of anything that our Workforce Development Council can do, projects, maybe, to please share them maybe at the next meeting, or, circulate something we can, put on the agenda to maybe put something together. I was actually concerned that, with, I know, like, I see in like the restaurant industry, so many restaurants are closing down, for good, and, was worried that maybe a lot of centers or maybe smaller, in-home family childcare providers might be in the same boat. And so, I wasn't sure if, sort of like emergency, like hardship, type of grants, would be helpful or needed, but just, things that, challenges that providers or teachers might be facing, that if there's anything that we can do, ideas that you have, to please, bring them, and maybe we can, work together to figure something out. So.
Clement, I do have a suggestion right off the top of my head that could maybe fill an urgent need. In that there's a lot of centers that are struggling with policies with COVID. So, for example, a family has been exposed and now they choose to quarantine, or they're suspecting that they were exposed to someone, and so now they are quarantining for 2 weeks. Should that center still expect them to pay tuition? For example, what about a staff member? Again, these centers are operating at just, one staff member calls in sick and maybe they don't have enough teachers to staff all the classrooms. And all of a sudden now you have a teacher that's suspecting being exposed and they are out for 2 weeks. Should they get paid? How do they find someone for those 2 weeks? And I think a lot of centers are struggling with policies. They don't want to hurt their staff or the families, but they also want to still remain afloat. So I don't know. I know we've often talked about, do we have a role in helping the administrators and the owners of the centers with some of these more leadership decision-making policy kinds of things? I'm not sure where we ever went on that, but I know there's a serious need right now for that.
Does CPP or even 4Cs, have you all been given any advice around this particular area? Just curious.
So what we've done at CPP is at the onset, when reopening started in June 1st, what we did is have legal counsel, not only us, but with the other Ohio local preschool initiatives, share certain documents like release forms, parent consent forms, modification for employee forms, those types of shared forms that we all have in operations, shared out, but no, in terms of actively addressing those details with the responsible restart guidelines and how to implement those reporting requirements and paying, we haven't made guidelines for that at CPP.
And neither does 4C. Once again, we provide resources for them to make those types of decisions, but we don't give them, we don't provide policies like that for them.
Well, maybe that we can, brainstorm between the meeting and, do more information as far as do. So that was pretty much all that I had. Anybody have any?
Clement, there is one more question that was posted from Lisa Garofalo.
Okay.
May I address that one question? And then is the district struggling to find EC teachers as well? We were fully staffed Where we are struggling is more in the civil service area, our paraprofessionals and our student service assistants, which are our NEP aides. Our struggle is not finding the employees, but our district is given multiple options for COVID leave. And so it's difficult, and we've had to reallocate staff to cover the areas if a staff member does select to take like childcare COVID leave for the 12-week period. So I just wanted to answer that before the end. So thank you.
I was getting ready to read that for you, Vera. So
That's called teamwork.
here is.
Okay, well, if there is nothing else, no other comments or questions, I guess what, can we get a motion to adjourn? Need a motion and a second?
I move to
Oh.
adjourn. This is Bob.
All right,
This is Kim. I'll second.
okay, great. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, great. We are officially adjourned and officially back in business.
Okay, I'm stopping broadcasting.
Thanks, everyone.